Hi everyone, so I'll be discussing the resultant of force system. The resultant of a force system is a force or a couple that will have the same effect to the body both in translation and rotation if all the forces are removed and replaced by the resultant. So there are three equations involving the resultant of force system. These are the Rx, Ry, and Rz. So it depends if this is a coplanar or a spatial. So for the coplanar concurrent force system, we have X and Y, Rx and Ry only, but for the spatial concurrent force system, we have Rx, Ry, and Rz. Lahat yun ay summation of forces ng bawat axis. Like, for example, Rx is equal to summation of forces ng x-axis. Ry is summation of forces ng y-axis, and Rz is the summation of all forces ng z-axis. For the resultant of force system, first one is coplanar concurrent force system. The line of action of each forces in coplanar concurrent force system are on the same plane. All of these forces meet at a common point, thus concurrent in x and y plane. The resultant can be found by the following formulas. So, meron tayong Rx and Ry. So, this is the summation of Rx. Yung Rx is summation of Fx. So, summation of forces along x-axis. And summation of forces along y-axis, yun naman si Ry. So, paano ba nakuha yan? For this example, since this is a coplanar concurrent, it means meron lang tayong x and y plane. Kaya tinawag na coplanar kasi all the forces are acting on the same plane. So, yan. So, si Ry, lahat ng forces acting sa y and lahat ng forces acting sa x, dito mo makikita. Summation of forces x, summation of forces y. And magkakaroon tayo ng resultant. Ayan. So, para makuha si resultant, gagamit tayo ng formula ng triangle or ng parallelogram. Diba makakapagbuo tayo dito? Ito si R, ito si Ry, at saka si Rx. Para makuha mo to, kung ito ay triangle, ang magiging formula niya ay R squared is equal to Rx squared plus Ry squared. So, magiging square root ng Rx squared plus Ry squared. Yan, para makancel tong 2. Okay, so same thing dito sa formula natin. Para makuha mo naman si tangent, theta, kasi ito po si theta. So, given tong si Ry, given si Rx, this is, tangent is opposite over adjacent is equal to Ry over Rx. Kaya magiging tangent theta is equal to Ry over Rx. Ayan. Same po dito ng formula. And for the spatial concurrent force system, so the spatial concurrent forces meet at a common point but do not lie in a single plane. So unlike for the coplanar, they are lying on the same plane, but for this spatial, they meet at a common point, but they not lie in a single plane. So different plane siya. Meron kasing x, y, z na. So it means this is a three-dimensional space. Kaya x, y, z ang axis natin dito. Kaya magkakaroon tayo ng rx, ry, rz. And ang magiging resultant natin, r is equal to square root ng rx squared plus ry squared plus rz squared. So, yan. For the direction cosines, kanina tangent ang gamit natin, ngayon cosine ang gagamitin natin for each axis. So, meron tayong theta x, theta y, and theta z. And yung rx na gagamitin natin, kapag ka theta x, rx ang gagamitin natin. Kumbaga, kung anong axis yon, consistent na dun ka lang magpo-focus sa axis na yon. So, meron tayong tatlo din, katulad ng sa resultant natin, kasi tatlo po yung magiging tatlo po yung axis natin, kasi nga three-dimensional space. So, that's it. This is the formula guide for our sample problem. Three ropes are tied to a small metal ring. At the end of each rope, three students are pulling, each trying to move the ring in their direction. If we look down from above, the forces and directions they are applying are shown in the figure. Find the net force of the ring due to the three applied forces. So, may nag-aagawan po yung tatlong students na may hawak na rope, and they are pulling the metal ring. So, meron papunta dito sa kanan, meron papunta dito sa kaliwa, at meron papunta dito sa gilid. Okay, so hinihila nila. Then, para hindi kayo malito, you need to have or to draw the FBD. Yung tinatawag nating FBD, Free Body Diagram. So, magkakaroon po tayo ng X and Y axis. So, ito si Y axis, ito si X axis. So, ilalagay nyo lang po yung force doon. Forces. Para meron tayo ditong tinatawag na F1. Ito ay si F2. Yan. And si F3. Si F1 is equal to 30 pounds. Si F2 is equal to 50 pounds. Si F3 is equal to 80 pounds. So, meron pong forces na nag-act sa X and Y. So, the requirement of this problem is the net force on the ring due to the three applied forces. So, what we need is to know the net force. It means the resultant of all the forces acting on that metal ring. So, para makuha, meron tayong Rx and Ry. Yan. So, summation of forces, X. Okay? So, para makuha yan, mayroon forces na nag-act. Ito po. Makita natin dito. Meron dyan na tinatawag na F1X, F1Y. So, sa F1X and F1Y, meron din dito si F2Y and F2X. Meron din dito F3X and F3Y. Ayan. para makuha mo yung summation of forces, ito yung magiging formula niya. So, lahat ng forces acting on the x, along the x-axis, ito po yun. I-highlight natin to. Ay. Ito po yun. At saka, ito, at saka ito. So, ibig sabihin, equals. So, ang ano natin, assume natin positive yung, positive yung going to the right and negative yung going to the left. Okay? So, ang magiging sagot niya ay, ang magiging formula ay F1x positive minus F2x minus F3x. Bakit naging minus? Kasi negative nga po siya kasi going to the left yung ano natin. Yung direction natin. For Ry naman is equal to summation of forces y. So, para makuha si summation of forces y, positive naman yung pa-up and negative naman yung going down. So, ito po siya. Si y, lahat ng y. Ayan. Magiging equals F1y since positive plus F2y minus F3y. Ayan. Lagyan natin ng values ha para makuha natin. So, Rx, si Rx naman, ayan, is equal to si F1x. Siya ay 30 pounds times, since may theta tayo dito na 37 degrees, cosine 37 degrees ang gagamitin natin. Minus, si F2 naman, 50 cosine. Meron tayo ditong angle na 45 degrees. So, 45 degrees minus 80 cosine. Ilan yon? 60. Kasi, ang angle nito ay 60 degrees. 60 degrees. Okay? Para makuha natin, we will use the calculator and the value will be 1.40 lb. It means, ang sagot ay 51.4 pounds going to the left. Yan, going to the left. Yan yung sagot. And then, for this Ry naman, summation ng Fy, so, 30, ganun pa din. Si F1y, 30 is 30 times sine naman ang gagamitin natin since this is y-axis. Sine 37 degrees plus 50 sine 45 degrees minus 80 sine 60 degrees. Yan, gamit yang lahat ng naka-color green na circle. Okay? And by solving 15.87 pounds, ang answer natin is 15.87 pounds going to the left. Going downward. Kasi negative siya. Ayan. So, for tangent naman, for the resultant, para makuha si resultant, meron tayong formula na r squared is equal to square root ng rx squared plus ry squared is equal to, yan, substitute natin si 51.4 squared plus 15.87 squared. So, makakuha tayo na resultant na 53.79 pounds. Yan na yung net force. Tapos, para makompleto natin is alamin natin yung tangent. So, si tangent, theta x is equal to ry over rx. So, substitute mo lang 15.87 over 51.40. So, theta x is equal to 17.16 degrees. So, that's the answer for this problem. So, that's how we solve the resultant of coplanar concurrent force system. And for you to have a good solution or a clear solution, this one, as you can see, this is what we did, and same answer and same resultant and same angle. So that's how we solve the resultant of force under the coplanar concurrent force system. Coplanar parallel force system. So parallel forces can be in the same or in opposite directions. So the sign of direction can be chosen arbitrarily, meaning taking one direction as positive makes the opposite direction negative. So the complete definition of resultant is according to its magnitude, direction, and line of action. So ang formula naman nitong coplanar parallel force system is yan. Since they are acting parallel to each other, ayan, makikita natin may forces going down, tapos may forces going up, and forces going down. So, ang formula is R is equal to summation of forces kasi nakaparallel siya to each other. Wala ng X and Y. So, F1 plus F2 plus F3. And the RD is equal to summation of forces along X. So, F1 times X1 plus R2 X2 plus F3 and X3. So, we have a sample problem for that para mas maintindihan nyo. For the next slide. In addition to the coplanar parallel force system, so we have resultant of distributed load. Ayan. So, it is either rectangular load, triangular load, trapezoidal load. Yan. So, for this one, we have different formula. Pag rectangular load, ang gagamitin natin ang R is equal to WOL. Ano ba yung WO? So, kung ilan yung weight nito, ito times nyo lang dun sa length. Pagdating naman sa triangular load, R is equal to 1/2 WO times the length. And for the trapezoidal, we have WO1, ayan, and times L plus half of WO1 and WO2. Yan, WO2 WO2 minus WO1 times L. So, paano ba yan nabuo yung formula na yan? Hinati yan sa triangle. Ayan. So, for the first one, kasi as you can see dito, ang formula nito, they are using area. Yan. So, pag dito naman sa trapezoidal, meron dito na area ng rectangle at triangle plus triangle. So, ito ay area ng rectangle. So, ito po yung rectangle. Yan yung rectangle. So, WO1 times length. Pagdating naman sa triangle, 1/2 ng ito, WO2 minus WO1 times yung length. So, ganyan po nabuo yung formula ng resultant of distributed loads. The resultant of parallel forces in space will act at the point where it will create equivalent translational and rotational moment effects in the system. So, yan, as discussed, meron tayo ditong pag sinabing spatial, meron tayong 3 axes. So, X, Y, and Z. But for now, parallel force system. So, parallel to each other. Makikita nyo, meron tayo ditong resultant. Ganun pa rin, forces, lahat ng forces na nag-act is F1 plus F2 plus F3 and so on, equivalent to the resultant. And for the moment, just summation of the distance times the forces. Okay, so R1, F1 plus R2, F2, and R3 times F3. Note, two parallel forces that are equal in magnitude, opposite in direction, and not collinear will create a rotation effect. This type of pair is called a couple. Ayan. The placement of a couple in the plane is immaterial, meaning its rotational effect to the body is not a function of its placement. The magnitude of the couple is given by C is equal to Ft, where F, the magnitude of the two equal opposing forces, and D is the perpendicular distance between these forces. For this sample problem, so a parallel force system acts on the levers shown in the figure. Determine the magnitude and position of the resultant. So, given that, di natin alam kung saan yung location ng resultant. So, mag-a-assume tayo na din dito si R. And, meron siya dito magiging distance na tawagin natin D. So, ayan. Para makuha natin, ang requirement ng problem na to is to determine the magnitude and position of the resultant. So, this is the resultant and the position is letter D. So, para makuha natin yan, kunin natin yung resultant. Summation of forces. So, si R daw hindi natin alam kung ilan, 'di ba? So, since this is a parallel coplanar parallel force system, ang gagamitin natin is R is equal to summation of forces because they are acting parallel dyan sa ating figure. So, lahat ng force, let's assume na pagka positive is going down. Pag positive is going up, and pag negative is going down. Yan. So, summation of forces, para makuha natin, R is equal to going down 30. Yan, si 30 is negative 30 minus 60 negative 30 minus 60 plus 20 minus 40. So, ilan yung magiging sagot natin dyan? Let's solve. Negative 30 minus 60 plus 20 minus 40 is R is equal to negative 110 pounds or equal to 110 pounds going down kasi negative po yung naging naging answer ng resultant natin. So, this is 110 pounds. So, paano naman natin makukuha yung distance na yan? So, doon na papasok si moment. So, kasi si moment, meron siyang summation of moment at A, summation of XF. Okay? Lahat ng forces is kasama pero meron siyang distance. So, let's assume na ang clockwise ay positive and ang counterclockwise ay negative. Okay? So, MA, summation moment at A is equal to, ito muna, si 30 times 2. Bakit naging 2? Kasi yung distance niya hanggang dito is 2 inches. Sa moment at A tayo moment. Okay? So, plus 60 times, ang distance naman ito hanggang dito ay 2 plus 3. So, magiging 5 minus 20 times 7 kasi ang moment nito hanggang dito ay 2 plus 3 plus 2. Ilan yan? 2 plus 3 plus 2 is equal to 7. Plus, ayan, 40 times 7 plus 4 is equal to 11. So, ang magiging MA natin, ang sagot ay 660 feet pounds. So, yan. And then, para malaman natin yung distance, kasi si moment at A is equate natin sa RD. Resultant is equal to resultant times distance. So, si MA is equal to RD, magiging 660 is equal to, ang resultant is 110 times yung distance. Ito, si distance na. Kaya magiging D is equal to 6 feet. Going to the right. Ayan. So, papunta dito. Tama to? Ayan, si D. So, thus, R is equal to 110 pound downward. So, nakompleto natin yung requirement, which is the magnitude of resultant and the position of resultant. Yan, meron dito si MA 660 feet pounds and T is equal to 6 feet from A. Yan, from point A. Dito. 6 feet. So, kung ito ay 5 feet, dito siya more likely. Yan, si R. Diyan, si resultant, and this is the distance. The resultant of a non-concurrent force system is defined according to the magnitude, inclination, and position. So for this slide, we will talk about the non-concurrent force system. So we have this formula, Rx and Ry. Same thing as discussed in this one. And for the moment, Mr, summation MO. So this is the legend where Fx is the component of forces in the x direction, Fy component of forces in the y direction, and Rx is the component of the resultant in x direction, and Ry is the component of the resultant and in y direction, while R is the magnitude of the resultant and the angle x made by a force from the x-axis. And then MO is the moment of forces about any point O, and D is the moment arm, which is the distance. MR is the moment of a point due to the resultant force, and Ix and Iy is the intercept of the resultant R. For the sample problem, the three forces shown in the figure are required to cause a horizontal resultant acting through point A. If F is equal to 316 pounds, determine the values of P and T. Ayan, there's a hint. Apply MR is equal to summation of B to determine the R, then MR is equal to summation of MC to find the P, and finally MR is equal to summation of MD, or RY is equal to summation of Y to compute T. Ayan. So the solution for this one, kailangan gagawa tayo dito ng yan, ng illustration. So paano nakuha yung mga angle na yan? Ayan. So meron tayo ditong tago 1 unit. 1 unit. Ayan, 1 unit to, 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit. Kaya, meron tayo ditong tinatawag na magkakaroon tayo ng slope. So, eto si B. May slope siya na 2. And, ito ay 1. Kasi ito 1, 1. Pagdating naman dito sa x is 1, 2, 3. Kaya 2/3. Okay? So, pagdating naman dito sa P, meron tayo ditong tinatawag na 1. Tapos, ito ay may 1 dito, may 1 dito. So, ang equivalent simula niyan hanggang dito ay 2. So, 1/2 din to. Okay? And then, for F, meron ditong triangle. Kaya magkakaroon siya ng slope na 1 and 3. Okay? So, ganyan po yung magiging slope natin. So, paano nakuha to? Paano nakuha itong mga to? Nakuha po yan is using the formula of hypotenuse. Kung given tong 2 and 3, just square root the squared of this 2 and 3. So, for example, square root of 2 squared plus 3 squared. So, makukuha mo po si square root of 13. Ayan. And so on. Makukuha nyo to at saka makukuha nyo rin yan. So, ganyan po yung pag-solve ng my slope. Okay. So, going back to the solution, the first, we need to know the resultant. So, paano natin makukuha yung resultant? Mag-moment lang tayo kahit saang point. Okay? Kahit saang point. And for this sample problem, the requirement is to know the values of P and T. So, itong P and T, kailangan natin malaman yung values niya. So, si P and si T. And given the resultant, sabi dito, the horizontal resultant acting through point A, kaya nandito siya. Si resultant acting through point A. So, para makuha natin yung P and T, meron tayo dito, maglalagay lang tayo ng point kung saan makakakuha tayo ng values. So, pag naglagay tayo dito ng point 0, ng moment point, ibig sabihin, ang makukuha nating value ay si P and T. Kaso, dalawang unknown yun. Pag dito naman tayo nag-moment sa B, hindi magiging 0 si T at saka si P, pero makukuha natin si resultant. So, try natin. So, summation moment at B is equal to 0, where positive po yung gagamitin ko sa clockwise direction. So, ayan. Cancel na to si T at saka si P kasi nag-a-act siya dito sa point na to. Kaya maka-cancel siya. Kaya ang magtitira na lang si F at saka si R. So, since this is a clockwise direction, so positive R times yung distance niya. Ang distance niya ay 1 times 1. Tapos ito ay meron din dito sa Fy. Meron tayong tinatawag na Fy at saka si Fx. So, si Fx merong distance na 2. So, si plus, kasi clockwise din siya, Fx times 2. And, meron din tayong Fy, clockwise din. Fy is equal to Fy times, yung distance niya dito ay ito. So, 1 ang gagamitin natin. So, given yan, si R1 plus si Rx ay si Fx ay given si F, diba? So, 316 times 2 times yung angle, yung ano niya, yung slope niya. Since this is Fx, kaya ang gagamitin natin na 1 over square root of 10 plus sa Fy naman is Fy is equal to 316 times gagamitin natin itong 3 kasi sa y-axis siya, 3 over square root of 10. Ayan. So, equal to 0. So, si R1, natin is R is equal to 316 times 2 times 1 over square root of 10 plus 316 times 3 over square root of 10. Ayan. Makukuha natin si R is equal to 499.64 pounds. And, ayan, given na yung resultant natin. And, pero hindi yan yung requirement natin. Ang requirement natin is to know the value of P and T. So, wala pa si P and T. Saan naman kaya tayo pwede mag-moment para makuha natin si P and T? So, dito naman tayo mag-moment. Erase all. So, given na natin si R is equal to 499.64 pounds. Ayan. Magmo-moment naman tayo dito sa C para makuha natin si P. Kasi pag nag-moment tayo sa C, makakancel si T, si F, R, at saka si P, yung magiging forces, niya. So, magiging summation of MC is equal to MR, yung moment sa R. So, ganun pa din, si clockwise is positive direction. Okay, so Fx times 4 minus Fy times 2 plus Py times 4 equals yung R times 3. Bakit? Kasi ito yung mga distance niya. So, kailangan naman natin ngayon ilagyan yung ng values yung Fx. So, si Fx ay magiging 316. Ito siya. Si Fy, ito si Fx. Tapos, yung x value na 1 over square root of 10 times 4. Minus si Fy naman, 316 times yung y value 3 over square root of 10 times 2 plus yan, plus yung Py naman, ayan, Py is ganito, Py. Tsaka may Px. Pero, si Px, cancel siya. Kasi, nag-a-act siya dito sa point na to. Ang magiging distance niya kasi sa moment is magiging 0, 'di ba? Kaya ito si Py lang yung pwede kasi ang distance na to ay kailangan natin. So 1 2 3 4 yung distance na. Kaya naging 4 to yung Py times 4. So plus si Py ay ayan, si Py ay unknown. So, Py is times 2 over square root ng 5 times 4 is equal to R, 499.63 times 3. Ayan. Bakit 3? Kasi sa C siya nag-a-act. Ito, 1, 2, 1 din, 1. So, ang distance na is magiging 3. Okay, so para makuha si P, 474.82 pounds. Yan, solve nyo na lang yan mathematically and that's the answer. So, given na to si P. Yan. Given na si P. Solve naman natin ngayon si D. Para makuha si D, summation of moment at D naman tayo. Magsa-summation of moment at D. And, ayan, summation of moment at D is equal to MR. Ganun pa din. So, si Fx times 4 plus Fy times 2 minus Ty times 4. Kasi dito lang siya, Ty. Si Tx kasi, cancel siya kasi 0 yung distance niya sa D. Yung perpendicular distance niya sa D. Samantalang si Ty, ang perpendicular distance niya ay meron siyang 4. So, equal to R times 3. Kasi dito sa D. Okay, para ma-solve, si R is 499.63 times 3. Si F is 316 times 1 over square root of 10 times 4 plus 316 times 3 over square root of 10 times 2 minus T 2 over square root of 13 times 4. So, bakit wala na si P? Kasi si P is nag-a-act siya dito sa mismong letter D. Kahit na may PY at saka may PX, yung magiging distance, perpendicular distance niya is 0. Kaya makakancel din siya. So, all in all, T is equal to negative 225.18 pounds. So, yan. Kaya nakuha si T. Yan. That's how we solve the resultant of force system. Yan. Kapag ganyan yung figure. So, kailangan lang alamin natin kung saan tayo magmo-moment na makakakuha tayo ng value. Kasi pwede tayo mag-moment kahit saan eh. Pwede dito, pwede dito, pwede dito. Pero, depende sa technique natin at strategy na may makuha tayong values. Ayan. And, for the clean solution, you may now erase all. Yan, that's the actual solution. Okay, you may review this one para mas maintindihan nyo yung lecture natin. So, thank you for listening, and that's it for our lesson 1 of module 2.